Hey, this is Zero at ReviewZoneHD, and before I even start discussing the topic of this video, for those that are impatient and you don't want to hear what I have to say, cast your votes with the thumb up, thumb down button for whichever game that you enjoyed more. If you like The Last of Us more than GTA, then hit the thumb up button. If you like GTA more, then hit the thumb down button. So let's go ahead and get started. According to a Yahoo report that released today, Rockstar spent $266 million creating and marketing Grand Theft Auto 5 over the last 5 years, and it made $800 million in sales in the first 24 hours of its release, which makes it the biggest day one earner ever across all entertainment media, which I'm actually really excited about that, because that means they may pour some money into hopefully creating Red Dead Redemption 2, which the first one is my favorite PlayStation 3 game. But in comparison, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 brought in $500 million on its first day, and according to its wiki, The Last of Us sold 1.3 million copies in its first week, but I couldn't find how much it sold on its first day with just a Google search. Maybe one of you guys can comment if you know. Now, according to Metacritic, The Last of Us has 98 reviews turned in with a score of 95, which includes the abysmal 75 score that Polygon gave it. Grand Theft Auto 5 has a score of 97 with 26 reviews turned in so far, and that number is most likely going to change by a point or two over the coming weeks as more reviews get turned in for it. BioShock Infinite has 27 reviews turned in with a score of 94. I know Skyrim didn't release this year, but the Legendary Edition version did. That one's got a score of 92 with 16 reviews turned in, but there's no way that's going to get Game of the Year considerations, and at this point I would be kind of surprised if BioShock Infinite is even taken seriously now that we've seen The Last of Us and GTA 5. Of course, the year isn't over yet. We still have Batman, Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, Battlefield, and Call of Duty on the way, but I'd be a bit surprised if any of those games really get a serious consideration over the two games that this video is centered around. Now, I spent a good bit of today playing GTA 5. I've clocked in around 13 hours so far. I've seen a good bit of what it has to offer. I've unlocked the 3 main characters, and I can freely swap between them. I've tested out most of the different types of land, air, and even the sea vehicles. I've seen most of the main city and a lot of its surrounding mountains and beaches, but the one thing that no one has seen yet is the multiplayer, which doesn't work yet. So everything that I'm going to be talking about in this video is going to be focused on the single player of both The Last of Us and GTA 5, which I thought The Last of Us multiplayer was fun, but I didn't consider it that game's brightest feature, and looking back at it now, it's pretty much an afterthought. And talking about GTA 5 in detail is going to be a little tricky here, because I need to save some of the stuff that I want to talk about for the review, which I'll be working on this weekend. But I will tell you guys, I've made the decision to do the countdown at the end of this year, going through my personal favorite games in order that have released this year, and I already have a clear-cut winner for that list between these two games, which I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag now. But from a standpoint of a reviewer looking at both of these games as a whole, the answer is going to be a lot more complicated than just which one's my favorite out of the two. With The Last of Us, it has most likely the best combination of story and storytelling that's ever been in a game. It's got top-notch blockbuster graphics, great voice acting, it's got a good soundtrack. It's a very well-rounded, all-around game. It's also got very smooth controls, animations, the combat's fun, it's got some neat trophies, it gives you plenty of reasons to play through the game a second time. With Grand Theft Auto 5, it's got most likely the best combination of graphics and an open-world, detailed sandbox environment that's ever been seen in a game. I mentioned in a previous video, it's just silly how much content, how big this city and world is, and how much detail there is, and the fact that it all runs smoothly with no loading is just a technological wonder. However, it does have a major weak point, and just happens to be with what The Last of Us does really well, and that's its story. Not the dialogue, not the script, but the actual core of this story, which I'm going to discuss more in my review. On one hand, The Last of Us was super suspenseful, very dramatic, very gritty, it was real. On the other hand, GTA 5 is chaotic, it's unpredictable, it's overly graphic in nature. The characters don't seem to take the situations that they're in very serious, and GTA 5 is an adrenaline rush in short bursts. The Last of Us is more of an edge-of-your-seat thriller that keeps you guessing on what's going to happen next. GTA is much more predictable when it comes to the missions, even though there's a ton of variety in what you're doing on here. A lot of the content doesn't feel original because there's been several GTA games that have come before it that have already placed the groundwork for this title. So it doesn't have that same punch, that same uniqueness that The Last of Us has, even though it's leaps and bounds better than any of the sandbox titles that's come before it. It pretty much does everything better, and it's got more variety than possibly even the Saints Row series. But between the two games, if I had to pick which one is funner and will appeal to more players, it's going to be Grand Theft Auto hands down. It's got a little bit of everything that should appeal to anybody that enjoys these type of sandbox games, whereas the same just can't be said for The Last of Us. The Last of Us is not going to appeal to everybody. It was really geared towards a specific group, and while it may have pulled in more fans that weren't necessarily in that target group, it just doesn't have that same mainstream appeal that GTA does. And of course GTA 5 already had a huge following long before it released because of the first 4 previous games, and it's for that very reason that I feel GTA will get the Game of the Year award from most major outlets when that time comes. I think there's just too much pressure to give it to them, especially knowing that it just broke a bunch of sales records and it's just getting waves of perfect reviews. And it deserves all the praise it's going to get. However, and this is a big however, when it comes right down to it, when everything's said and done and the dust settles, I think the people that played The Last of Us all the way through that were in its target group very well would pick The Last of Us over GTA for their own Game of the Year award. Some games just strike that special nerve that stays with you long after you've stopped playing. I beat The Last of Us when it first released, and I still think about moments that happened in that game, especially the ending of it. It's pretty much stuck with me, and I imagine it's going to be an experience that I remember even years down the road. So it's kind of a tough call. You have a game that's just a blast every time that you cut it on with Grand Theft Auto, and the other one was a very slow building, long lasting experience that you're going to remember with The Last of Us. No matter who gets the award, it's definitely been a great year to be a gamer. Just waves of good games releasing every month, and that countdown that I'm going to do at the end of the year, I'm sure is going to surprise and also piss off some people just like it does every year. But that's why we all have our own taste and our own opinions. And for my subscribers, I'd kind of like to hear what your favorite game has been between these two in the comments. I've asked several of my friends. It's been pretty much a split decision between the two. So just like I stated in the beginning of the video, drop a vote on whichever game that you enjoyed more, not which one that you feel should get Game of the Year. If you enjoyed The Last of Us more, hit the thumb up button. If you like GTA 5 more, hit the thumb down button. At the end of this year in the countdown video, I'll discuss the results. So be sure to put your vote in. That's pretty much all I have. This is Zero at ReviewZoneHD, and as always, thanks for stopping by.